Peace.
Hey, peace. How you feeling?
I'm good, bro. I'm good, man. Pardon me. Pardon my tardiness.
It's all good. Things happen. We're only human.
No doubt. No doubt, man. Cool.
Appreciate you joining me this Sunday evening. For everybody joining me today, this is episode 144 with the legendary J Live. Thank you so much again for joining us this Sunday afternoon.
My pleasure, man. Glad to be here. Thank you.
No doubt. We're going to do a little history lesson as well as work our way up to what you currently have going on. For those who may not know, are new to you, or just forgot, can you take us back to where you're born and raised?
Born and raised in Spanish Harlem, Unsigned Hospital, New York, New York. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Can you take us back to a day in the life of growing up in Spanish Harlem as a teenager?
Sure. I lived on 96 and 2nd. Hung out a lot on 102nd and 1st, Metro North buildings, lived across the street from Washington Projects. Used to play a lot of ball on 96 and 1st, right by FDR. Bucks tournament, PAL, way down on I want to say 89th, 91st is Asphalt Green. So a lot of basketball. Wasn't very good, but loved to play.
Right.
I had a lot of trophies as the 12th man. Come in, get works down or whatever, you know what I'm saying? I went to Central Park East, junior high and high school, Alexander Robertson, private school on the Upper West Side. Yeah, man, that's pretty much it, man. Just a regular latchkey kid, you know.
Any obstacles J Live had to overcome growing up in Spanish Harlem?
Obstacles? Nah, not really. My mom pretty much held me down. I was one of them real overprotected kids. Didn't really get outside. Spent a lot of my summers in South Bend, Indiana, in a little cul-de-sac with my grandparents. Some Christmases there as well.
I'm in Anderson, Indiana right now, so
okay, word. So go ahead, man. That's what's up. Who's your pride, I guess.
No doubt.
But yeah, so I was big Irish fan growing up. On the football side, used to watch a lot of those games. Going back to like Tony Rice, Jerome Bettis. You know what I'm saying? Rocket Ismail, that era.
Right.
Yeah, man. No, I had a pretty smooth childhood, man. Can't front.
As a teenager, who were some of your earlier musical influences before you got into music?
Oh man. Well, by the time I was a teenager, I was heavy into music. So we'd have to go back. I'll tell you what, if you know anything about New York radio, which I couldn't expect anybody outside of New York to know about New York radio like that. But in the Charm Life, I mentioned that, I used to listen to a lot of Z100 and WPLJ back when I was in elementary school. So you're talking about a lot of hair bands, Bon Jovi, Def Leppard, you know what I'm saying? So it wasn't really until 7th grade that I got deep into hip hop, so around the age of 12, because I went from, I went to junior high on 106 in Madison, and there's like the Graffiti Wall of Fame right there. And I was pretty much just immersed in the culture from that age. So we're talking like 1988. So we're talking, Big Daddy Kane, LL Cool J, Kool Moe Dee, Beastie Boys, you know what I'm saying, at that whole era there. So that's when I really got deep into hip hop. But so musically before that, like I said, a lot of the hair bands, Sade, Anita Baker, Freddie Jackson, the kind of stuff I would hear, from my mother and my aunts and my uncles. My uncles put me up on jazz, so like Miles Davis and John Coltrane cassettes kind of took me off from there. But hip hop is really what got me into, the rest of my music, because from taking an interest in sampling, that's how I really fell in love with like Latin jazz and just different kinds of, funk and R&B and soul, and really dug into it. So That's pretty much it.
Sounds very similar to my childhood growing up, from the hair band transition into hip hop. That is totally me. Can you take us back to growing up in Spanish Harlem? What did you see firsthand as far as hip hop in the city?
Well, aside from the Graph Wall of Fame, aside from just listening to switching from PLJ and Z100 to Kiss FM with Red Alert and WBLS with Molly Mall and Pete Rock, and then also Kiss FM with Chuck Chill Out on Fridays, Red Alert on Saturdays, the Awesome 2, Special K and Teddy Ted, and like watching Video Music Box religiously, with Ralph McDaniels, and Yo MTV Raps, Ed Lover and Dr. Dre, Rap City. But then like in my actual neighborhood, project center parties, just all the time DJing, going to 1199, seeing Ron G, SNS, Chuck Black. I used to get my mixtapes from a spot called Pegasus on 110th and Lex, and that's when I really fell in love with like the E Brothers mixtapes, Double R, DJ Ray, G-Bo the Pro, Showtime, Flavor. My battery's wilding out a little bit. I got time though, but
okay.
So yeah, man. The mixtape era really got me deep in doo-wop. Oh, can't forget doo-wop for sure. Huge influence. Tony Touch, just all of those, and then like, so between listening to those mixtapes, having my little Gemini starter kit, putting my first scratches down, going to Nobody Beats the Wiz and Rockin' Soul, copping 12 inches, and then and listening to the radio constantly, pause mixing, and then having my first rhymes and going from just rhyming on the basketball court to just hanging out with friends and rhyming in the house to battling cats in the cafeteria in school. You know what I'm saying? That's just literally just immersed into the culture, man. It's kind of hard to remember when it wasn't around like that.
Right. How do you think you got into hip hop first? A lot of people would say graffiti, break dancing. For J Live, I know you're an MC, producer, DJ. What was first for you getting into the music?
Like I said, it was pretty much DJing and MCing at the same time. Not like literally, but just when I was writing my first rhymes, I was putting down my first scratches. And I used to say, rhyming is more cost efficient because I didn't need gear to have, composition books full of verses and whatnot. So I just kept writing. And then as time progressed and I got more into, copping doubles or 12s and having turntables and doing projects and parties and that's but I'd say they both started around the same time.
Can you give us a timeline?
87.
87?
Yeah.
Okay. Other interest as far as outside of music for J Live at this time?
When I would be in Indiana with my cousins from Grand Rapids, Michigan, we used to build a lot of model airplanes, play a lot of military games out in the backyard, you know what I'm saying, digging trenches and just a lot of make-believe. But just, we had like a whole aircraft carriers worth of model airplanes. I could tell you that. That was a pretty big thing for us. Sports, watching more so than playing, you know what I'm saying. Like I said, I love basketball. I was not, threatening to go pro at any point. You know what I'm saying? But definitely could tell you all about it. I think I had basketball cards more so than baseball cards back then. Yeah, just regular kid stuff.
You ended up going off to college. Can you
speak
a little bit?
SUNY Albany.
Okay. Speak a little bit about your education.
Just got my bachelor's in English. Taught for a couple of years in Brooklyn after that. The whole time I was at SUNY Albany, I was pretty much putting out the first few singles and the first few features and building towards putting out the first album. My senior year was actually funny because there was I'd set it up. I'd done summer school the semester before my senior year, so that only credits I had left to do were enough that I could do an independent study on hip hop. So I had like the complete works of J Live and like a deep research paper on the history of hip hop as far as I could tell it. And that afforded me the time to be able to tour spring semester senior year, 98, when the best part was supposed to originally come out. But then all kinds of, major label drama ensued, and I ended up not putting the record out and teaching for a couple of years before the ball really got rolling with music. So by 2002, having graduated, having taught for a couple of years, middle school language arts, and now All of the Above is out, and I'm touring on a regular basis, and things are really taking off. And I pretty much stopped teaching and was doing music full time ever since. But I always had that because of the marketing behind All of the Above, being on like MTV's You Hear It First, and just all of the different magazines, telling that story and pushing that narrative of here's a guy that's Brooklyn middle school teacher who's putting out music. It was like, no, I'm an MC that ended up teaching middle school middle school language arts. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that rep has kind of carried with me ever since as this kind of hip hop teacher. But I teach more through my music. You know, I mean, that's just what it is. I haven't really worked for the Board of Ed in 2 decades. So.
Gotcha. At what point did J Live start adopting the 5% Nation into his
I
thoughts?
became a 5%er in college when I was going to SUNY Albany. My brothers True Master, Saheem, Takim. We were pretty deep up there by my sophomore year. 95, I remember going to the Million Man March with the Nation of Islam with my brother Freddie 2X. Just like whole buses of FOI and a couple of vans full of FOI, and I was in one of those vans, and we got to DC from Albany, and just, that was a beautiful day. But by then, I already had like Supreme Mathematics from my brother True Master, and was learning a lot from Saheem and his father, and pretty much that's my tree right there. So yeah, about the age of 19.
Can you take us back before the deals, J Live getting his name out there, paying dues, some of the ciphers you were part of earlier on?
Not really. I mean, before the deal, I guess. Which deal are we talking about? Like the best part deal,
The best
deal?
part, yeah. Before the best
I
part,
mean,
just your name, just getting your name out there. Can you remember any
my
dues you
name
had to
got
pay?
out there because when we put out Longevity and Braggin Rights, Rorschach pretty much put my name out there. You know what I mean? As far as George promoting and putting out the record, and my first single was really what put me on the map. From Longevity and Braggin Rights, you end up getting Unsigned Hype, Stretch and Bobbito playing the record, and those tapes circulating around the world, doing New Eurekan Poets Cafe and Wetlands, and meeting contemporaries like Natural Resource and DJ Spinner and Mark Ronson and all these different people, Sean J. Period, just being around that neighborhood in Brooklyn where everybody's just a few blocks away from each other, in Bed-Stuy. And it's like, all right, I'm working with cats like Jeff Brown and, running into Pharaoh, hanging out at the Making Records house, and see everybody from Jean Grey to Josiah, from, so just all of those different, that whole era right there was just, again, being immersed in the culture, showing up at SOBs and all of these then tramps. And, I think I mentioned Wetlands already. I mentioned New Eurekan, just all of the different, places where the usual suspects would be rapping, just being around, doing like 88 hip hop and different shows like that. Showing up at WNYU way back when it was like Martin Moore and Mayhem, before Eclipse, or during Eclipse, Eclipse and everybody as well. I mentioned Stretch and Bob, but and then being in college at SUNY Albany, every SUNY had a college radio station, and putting out those singles, I'd end up everywhere from Purchase to Geneseo to Binghamton to Syracuse, on down to like Rutgers, and like any kind of college radio you could possibly do. That's really what put my name on the map. That was the grind. But like I always say, so we've been talking about the history. So, the first rhyme books are like 87, 88. The first single was 95. So all of that time in between, I'm just honing my skills, running through rhyme books, writing verses, going from writing verses to writing songs. That's where I got my chops, but that's not really when I got my name. My name was my name, but my name didn't get on the map until 95.
Okay. You mentioned getting with Rosscheck Productions. Did you ever shop a demo before getting with them, and how did you end up over at Rosscheck?
Nah, actually, so like I mentioned, I went to Central Park East High School, right? And the guy, Rorschach's pretty much just a one-man company, George Summers. And it so happened he played tennis with the woman that ran the internship program in my high school. And, when she was running the internship program, she asked me what I wanted to do, and I was talking about being an entertainment lawyer at the time. And it was like, okay, well, I know somebody that can, at least put you in that industry. So that was one of several internships that I had in several, just several opportunities that I I dug into. And, that's where I learned how to use the S950, the Akai S950, drum machines, Atari Creator program on the computer, how to dig for records. I was sitting in on studio sessions with amazing engineers and just paying attention and just watching. And they were working on music that whole time while I was in high school. And by the time I got my sophomore year at college, it was like, look, I got rhymes, you got beats, let's just put something out. And that's when Longevity and Braggin Writes happened.
When you dropped those in '95, what kind of reaction did you get?
It was amazing. It was, I guess it would be the equivalent of going viral nowadays. You know what I'm saying? Here you have an independent, out of the trunk sort of 12-inch record that pretty much gets everywhere. That's all over college radio, all over underground radio, all in tons of magazine, a lot of press, the right kind of attention, and it was amazing. It was the catalyst that kind of spawned everything.
Right.
And it was really just from doing what comes naturally. We weren't, like I said, I wasn't throwing demo tapes in the back of limos and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I was just, I rap. And, so happens I rapped in front of the right people or rapped at the right time, and things happen.
After appearing in Unsigned Hype, did the major labels come knocking on your door, and how did life change for you after that?
Nah, we shopped around. It was funny. We used to, I think, if I remember correctly, we were joking like, all right, so the plan is put out this 12-inch, sell a few thousand records, and that will get us, major label attention. And, tens of thousands of records later, it was still like, all right, well, apparently we don't need the label. We just kept it moving and put out the second single, and then, sold twice as many on CD and cassette and record. And it was like, all right, well, and then when the majors finally started knocking, it was like, all right, well, now we have a choice. It's like, okay, so what are we, who are we gonna rock with? And there was a few, and I ended up landing on Payday Records at the time with the likes of J. Rue and OC and Showbiz and AG, et cetera.
Group Home.
Yeah, exactly. So that, it didn't work out, but that was my foot in the door in terms of getting to the majors.
Very dope. You dropped Can I Get It and Hush the Crowd in '96
Yep.
with a remix of Braggin Writes. What kind of momentum are you seeing at this point?
Well, I've mentioned that. That was the second single I mentioned that did twice as well as the first single.
Oh, okay.